welcome to our next edition of our Beers and Bytes podcast. With us today is our special guest, Cashman, coming all the way from Holland. And we have our normal moderators, Chris Jordan from Fluency and Jeremy Murtishaw from Fortify 24/7. Thank you and welcome. And gentlemen, what beers did you bring today?
All right, you can begin, Jeremy.
I'm going to start out. All right. Well, today I've got two just in case, but we'll start with the offshoot. It's another. I'm into this hazy IPA trend. I can't get off of it. And then just in case we run over time, I got the backup hazy LA IPA.
The La Ipa. All right. Ooh. Well, I got a elegy, which kind of looks like eulogy. It means to lament the dead. And we'll see how it goes. A hazy imperial diet. You know, we're going to do an interview with some beer meister or master sometime and find out what's the difference between an imperial double IPA, a double IPA, and an imperial IPA. So there's tons of it. And I've seen a triple IPA. So haywire. And then backup beer, the last of my cherry blossom beer from the festival that never occurred.
Now, see, Mo, these guys are double cans, and I'm a single kind of can guy. What did you bring today, Mo?
I brought Lef Blanc, and being here in The Hague, you get a great selection of Belgian beers, both Trappist and Abbey beers, and this is one of my favorites. It's a triple. It's a little bit stronger, but it's got a nice taste. But I'll tell you, I spent my 50th birthday, which was last year. My wife did a great surprise present for me. She bought me a brewery tour with some friends in the Ardennes, and we went to the La Chouffe brewery. And I have some. I heard Chris talk about cherries. I have cherry beer over here in my storage room that's still from last year. So I might have to crack that open.
To come visit that brewery with you.
What's that? It was a great trip. I need to open it up wide for the next time for more people, because it was just fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, well, today I brought another Texas beer. It's Daymaker. And with that, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Mo, you're going to go a little bit more into the beer. So over there, one of the things I used to love about that mecca was, especially Germany, is every town had their own brewery, their own beer. You go in there, you get the glass, right? The infamous marker that makes sure you get enough beer when they pour you a beer. He did the beer tours. I mean, it's beautiful over there. I don't think I'd ever return if I had an option to stay.
and that's pretty much the story of my life, Chris. I came here, never left.
Awesome.
In fact, one second.
What?
Speaking of, I just have a special treat for you guys. So this is a beer stein, kind of a classic one. Actually, a really classic one. It's from Villeroy and Boch. It's about 100 years old or so. Another great Christmas gift from the years past. But these are pretty. Well, you get beer steins, of course, in Germany, but this is one of the more decorative ones. I thought that was a pretty good collector's piece.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Now we're going to open it up to beer memorabilia. I'm going to have a Budweiser sign above my head here or something. We need to, if this is the theme, I like this theme. I'm coming back, Chris.
Yeah, this is basically, we just sit around, we drink, and we do talk about beer. We really got to, on our thing, we're going to go out to some microbrews eventually once the weather gets warm and quarantine comes over or gets over. I'm looking forward to the end of it. And we're going to up our games. We're going to get hockey jerseys with our new logo. We're going to show our logo out. And we're going to go the whole Canadian hockey drinking with security as the side conversation.
Wow. Yeah, that's the best thing.
So
have a party and have security come around.
There you go. So Mo, if you want to take a few minutes and just let our audience know who you are and what you do, and that would be terrific.
Sure. I'm Cashman. Currently I'm a principal engineer here at McAfee Security, and I've been with McAfee about 10 years now. But just prior to, and that's where I met Chris. Actually, within the first my first year in McAfee, I was a consultant on one of our projects, and Chris came through to McAfee on an acquisition, and he had, the Endeavor product was, I thought it was awesome because I was always into detection and response. I had led a security operations team, for a defense sector customer in a previous
you were an ACERT
role.
member too, weren't
I
you?
really loved that job. And what's that?
You were an ACERT, a regional ACERT, weren't you? Army Computer Emergency Response?
I was in a regional CERT. That's right. Yeah. Regional Emergency Response Team. So part of the whole U.S. Army CERT program, which Chris, I think was, you were back, and that was even going back in first time, I think you were, that was in the late 90s even, first time we met. Yeah.
I started that job in 90.
And those are
the regionals, I think, in 92.
Yeah. And so that was my first job, actually, was security analyst for an RCERT, doing working, I think, on the first commercial IDS, so Real Secure 1.0. I remember.
Oh my God.
We had all those things. So love that. I still think about that job as one of the best ever, because you had so many learning opportunities, so many, security was just so becoming so important to everything, really, and especially in the military mission. We were one of the first to take cybersecurity out into the battlefield, even so into missions and so forth. So that was pretty fun. In fact, I remember my boss. We were doing the interviews for new candidates, and I was getting excited. I'm like, "Yeah, you get to deploy to Bosnia and deploy IDSs on the network," and he's like, "Whoa, I don't know that everybody likes that." And I'm like, "Well, I do." So some good stuff. And within McAfee now, I lead a team of solution architects. Get to work on corporate strategy, or company strategy and direction, particularly as it pertains to security operations. And I really love it. I have a great team. We do a lot of good things for our customers, and actually we build a lot of, I think we really make security operational, for our customers, right? Proving that it works, building systems, doing integrated design. So I couldn't be happier with that.
That's a great kind of lead into having a conversation, is making security operational. So both Jeremy and I love operational security, right? We're not, we might talk compliance, and I've done compliance for a number of years at one point, but I love operational security. I just think it's fun. You get to see everything. It's one of those things where you get to see if products actually work, right? You get to deploy something and see if it works. So I saw you won an award. Do you win an innovation award or something out of the UK or something weird? You win too many awards, don't you?
I don't know if it's an award, but it was last year I really set out to improve my public speaking ability, right? And I really worked on it, and I went to several different large conferences around Europe in particular, and the theme I used was, because I think the best part of public speaking, or the best public speakers, they bring authenticity to the table, and I really wanted to think about something that really spoke to me, and and I believe in this theme of resilience, whether it's cyber resilience, personal resilience, team resilience, just in general, and I really believe in that combination of kind of art and architecture. And in fact, I called it architecture, which was bringing that design thinking into something technical. So I use the theme of rethinking security and re-architecting for resilience, actually, as a theme. And it was I did a few conference engagements with that theme, and I thought it was well received. And I think you love the content when you step on the stage, and all of a sudden, boom, AV's gone, and you just keep going, right? And that actually happened, and that was it was a pretty large room and large conference, actually, and but I just love the content so much. I was just kind of powered through that.
So on the resilience, I mean, are you talking about, like, let's bring up what everybody's talking about today, COVID-19 and the change of architecture, right? So the facility and the remote office are pretty much gone. Everybody's logging in remotely. You've got a lot of cloud services and mobile apps all of a sudden kick in high gear.
Mm-hmm.
So how things are going that way with the clients, and does that play into the resiliency you were thinking about, or is that just a whole new level?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I think the theme of resilience is top of mind for every organization today. And if you didn't think about that before, you're certainly thinking about it now. Because security is such a critical piece, because you couldn't the businesses essentially couldn't operate unless you had at least good security capability in place. Device controls, cloud security controls. You're delivering an equivalent level of protection out to your mobile workers that are going direct to internet, right? And and I think it also speaks to the other areas of security that we sometimes forget about, which is culture, for one thing, right? And bringing people together and making them feel part of the business and part of the security mission, which is actually even more critical these days, because you're at home, there's lots of distractions, and you want to make sure that data security and device security, physical device security even, are top of mind, and you want to know that your workers know who to call, right? How are they? Most people aren't malicious, right? They just want to get the job done, and so they know who to call when they see a problem.
So you bring up the culture concept, and let's date myself in my relationship with McAfee. When I was at McAfee, McAfee was literally everything. We were probably selling underwear at one time. I mean, we were everything from the desktop to the server, right? And now McAfee's gone through a couple of different iterations that went through the Intel private equity, selling off a good portion of the portfolio, revamping. So what is the McAfee culture, and how does it engage a customer now? Is what's changed? And let me just be blunt about it. Why buy McAfee today? I mean, out of all people I can ask, I know I'll get an honest answer from you.
Yeah, I think and the history, Chris, and you're pretty spot on there. I think we've it's about 3 years since the spin out from Intel, and I think we're if from a security point of view, I'm feeling really good, because the strategy that we have invested in, which is essentially thinking about where controls were going to be needed the most at the device level, at the cloud, because those are the critical control points, and things had to be cloud native. I think our strategy is is resonating a lot with customers these days, that device to cloud kind of with simplified management across, simplified policy management across those platforms. And I think what speaks to me, and this is something that I'm very passionate about and continue to kind of work on within the company, is I think we win with architecture, right? And I'm starting to see that with the investments we made in cloud security controls, not just in CASB, but data protection, container security, and a lot of automation capability for AppSec in particular, or for doing security hygiene. We're starting to have those architecture conversations. So I don't go into a customer and say, I want to talk to you about anti-malware. I want to talk to you about workplace security architecture, or I want to talk to you about data security architecture, not just DLP or CASB. So we're getting there, right? I think that's the most personally, Chris, and you know me for many years. That's what gets me excited, and to be able to, because that's what the customers think about. We're putting that forward. We're not all the way there. We're not all the way there for sure. But I think we're seeing really good signs that conversation is going to be how we win, going forward. Customers have a lot of choices. Yeah.
Not to make you say any corporate secrets or anything, but is McAfee going to do an acquisition strategy to fill in the gaps, or do you think they're going to try to start some internal, projects and innovation?
I think we do both, honestly, and I think the strategy is, and you've probably seen it with we made an acquisition of a company called Nanosec, which was in the container space. Small company, hot, really strong technology, something that integrates well, right? And I think going back years, the strategy, we've always had sort of a strategy of integration, but it only really now is that strategy of integration, real, right? Or is real in terms of, delivering to the customers. You can always put two products together and make them talk together, right? But that doesn't necessarily, deliver the outcome that the customer is looking for. They're looking for a solution that works together. So I think the technology acquisitions that we made, Nanosec being one of those. There was also it was a UX company, I believe. Again, small technology investments. We made a recent acquisition of LightPoint in the zero trust space. So that is, again, small technology, not that big, but fits into our strategy of what can we build on top of Envision, integrates well, and also, moves the holistic strategy. I think we're consistent in that, in that approach. And, in terms of innovation, I think two things, and this is all known, which is one is called Unified Cloud Edge. And I think that speaks really well to the theme of remote working. So unifying, secure web gateway, data protection, CASB under single policy management, that's organic innovation. And I think in the areas of Intel as well, there's Insights is a new product we announced last year, but it's coming to market really soon here. Again, organic innovation on both sides. So I like that strategy honestly more so than let's go get a big company, because then you just,
So
do you mix or not, right?
I'm curious, Jeremy, from your perspective, being an advanced MSSP, from what you're hearing, what's your thoughts on that, and what questions would you have for Mo regarding?
My question is, as a former Intel employee, right?
Me or you?
Me, yeah, Intel hired me, and I worked there for a few years for Y2K and beyond, right? I was part of the Intel.com strategy. I worked for Doug Bush and Sandra Morris over there. And, I was building data centers for them all over the world. So my question to you is, what did you like about being acquired by Intel? What did you not like about being acquired by Intel? And how has that overall experience changed or shaped McAfee's culture?
It's really interesting question. Going back, going back a little bit. I'll tell you what I loved about Intel, which was the company itself. Right, I mean, it's a great place to work. It's an engineering company, so technical people were very well respected, well treated. Not everyone at Intel, honestly, is pretty, at least from my perspective, is pretty well treated, and great company to work for. A lot of support there. I think that mix of security on, I think that, there was sometimes a cultural mismatch there. Cybersecurity, you have to be very, very agile, especially today. I mean, look at all the companies out there coming up, one after another. So you have to be very agile to tackle the new threats and be on top of things, and sometimes aggressive, like getting out there and talking about competition, or talking about the threats, and sometimes those kind of conversations may not go, didn't fit maybe with the Intel culture, right? So being aggressive and agile, they're agile in other ways, but maybe in cyber was,
sure,
that long-term mindset was was good and bad. Let's just put it that way. I think coming out, we're a cloud first type company now, and so it was easy for us to transition to sort of the work from home, because everything is pretty much cloud. All of our office systems, business systems, and even some of our design labs and so forth that our team uses, all remotely accessible, either in AWS or on our own data center, what have you. So we're used to it, but I know that culture is not that easy transition is not the same for many people.
So your takeaway is basically that it was a positive experience. You felt like you were treated well as an engineer, and I agree, engineering is a respected trade within the Intel culture. Yeah, it's a good. I think it was a fun experience overall.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, personally, I'm really only speaking, personally on this was that, I had some, worked as sort of a strategist for government, where was able to leverage my experience in working in government as a practitioner to go and promote, cybersecurity in different, different foreign national governments. In fact, Chris and I made several trips together, some, talking to, won't name the names now, but lots of different trips to some far-flung places where where the high-tech nature, especially the products that Chris had brought to McAfee and Endeavor Security, were really appreciated. That advanced detection response capability, that was a lot of fun. I think Intel did bring a stronger engineering culture to McAfee. I think prior to Intel acquisition, McAfee was sales and marketing, right? With engineering, of course, in the consumer side and labs and so forth. So of course we had that, but it was really out in front. Acquisitions by a company, market it, work to integrate it. And I think Intel, brought, and this is my perspective again, brought a bit of organic engineering culture into McAfee. And a lot of the people are still here. Many people. Of course, competition's high, so we have people going different places, right? And that's always the same. But
natural attrition,
engineering wise, quite a few longstanding people in the engineering organization.
I think being there during that transition, Intel was an engineering place, right? So McAfee was a sales place, and McAfee's salesperson to engineer ratio was like a flip of Intel's. And so there was a cultural conflict between the two of them. There was a significant amount of downgrading of marketing because they felt that technology sells, and McAfee was always one that was used to the constantly marketing to the end consumer because security is such a marketing game, right? So Mo, you brought this insight. Is that a product that you guys are selling now?
So we announced it in our customer conference last year, so at Empower, and its insights is might have internet connectivity issues, guys. So
no,
let me know. Still good? Okay. It's coming out. It's coming to market very soon here. Don't have the exact date, but it's essentially thinking about sort of next level risk assessment, risk analysis, combining intelligence with posture assessment to give a bit more predictive. I'll say prescriptive might be the better term, in that sense. So prescriptive advice for customers and how to reconfigure. Now, out of the gate, it has a certain set of features, but I think that's what customers are looking for is how threat intel automation is a topic that especially my team works on a lot. We work with say ThreatQ and McAfee, and we build different integrated solutions to help automate some of those threat intel tasks, the hunting tasks, for example. And I think with insights, it's kind of taking the threat intel information, campaign information, combining that with what is your current state, and say, okay, these are the most critical threats. And if I look back in the ACERT, Chris, in our cert, we had a process, we called it threat response, and essentially we had a human team of course. We were fortunate to have intelligence capability, which was pretty organic and large, but we were able to do that real intel picture with cyber threat intel with what is our posture. And I remember every day having a stand-up briefing for 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah, where are we at risk? and that's essentially the problem we're trying to solve with insights.
I think the issue is, Jeremy, that if you were ever to do business the way we did business, you couldn't afford the number of people. Just to be honest. There was our idea of automation was turning around and saying, hey, have you seen this? It was a different world. It was briefings and papers and the communication was a lot different.
Let's bring this discussion forward to today's environment with COVID, right? We hear all of the things about life has changed as we knew it. We know that for those of us who've been work-at-home employees for many, many years, myself for almost 25 years in total now, all of a sudden, a lot of folks are now working from home as required, not only for the quarantine perspective, but we're hearing on the news that there's going to be a mass exodus of folks leaving the cities, going out to the suburbs because they've discovered I don't have to come to an office in a congested city, right, and be exposed. I can now live in this environment. We see stores changing the way that their shopping is now going to be done for customers, right? We see restaurants. All of these things are changing. In the world of work from home, and now all of a sudden this explosion of internet usage and this blending, and I'm going to say blending between having corporate assets and corporate access from your home environment to your personal, right? What do you see are some of the couple of top challenges that companies are going to face today in managing that whole new explosion of work from home?
Yeah, no, I think it's funny because, whenever there's something new, right, and not that work from home or mobile working is new, but whenever there's something new, you always find out that getting back to the basics is missing, right? So, and you might think these are simple things, but just knowing, you're having a secure configuration, for example, of your working device. And let's keep it on the managed device side of things for a minute. That's, you may say, well, in the office, I'm behind, defense in depth capability. I've got all the controls in place. Everybody's there. Physical security, no problem. But when you go from home, oh, do I have a secure configuration? What was that? That baseline config that I wanted to put on that device. And we just did a blog post, and we've got a webinar coming out actually on this particular topic. So it's top of mind for me, which was just RDP exposure, right? And RDP credentials for sale, in the dark market and other places where credentials for sale, taking advantage of combining that part, the attacker with misconfigurations, and you're like, oh man, that's not a big problem. Thousands and thousands of credentials. Those work devices are hot points into something else,
yes.
Right? Into the inside of the network if you're on a VPN, for example, or just as a hot point for a for a denial of service point, or it's part of an amplifying attack or something. But we've also seen that on the when you talk about access to stealing other credentials, right, and accessing corporate cloud resources, for example, in Teams or Salesforce or wherever. So the hijacking or getting credential access is possible. From once you have a foothold on somebody's machine, that's a lot of things become possible. But that's more the high side. Think about the next stage, ransomware. Like, how do you got a remote user in South Dakota? He's got ransomware. How do you get him a new computer when there's no delivery? You're not in touch with things. Let's just say you didn't stop it, right? You gotta recover from that somehow, right? As simple things that you probably like, oh wow, never thought that would be a problem before. But those kind of misconfigurations, thinking like the attacker and walking through those exercises, I think that's going to be something we're going to see more exercises in this construct. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? More of those simulation exercises. I see that coming around. Other areas is the data security itself, right? So being able to do secure collaboration, having kind of cloud native controls that can see the activity. If you're not behind a corporate firewall and all the other controls you have there, visibility is missing. So where's your new visibility points? Again, when you're totally going direct to cloud, not going through VPN or anything like that, you've got new visibility points, and some of those newer technologies, like EDR, for example, is not really new, but the ability to have more visibility endpoint, more visibility in the cloud, and cloud native visibility, that is pretty critical. So we have seen that acceleration. We certainly anticipate a larger acceleration to cloud services today, even in areas that might have heavy regulatory concerns or other types of concerns, or maybe have been slower to adopt. That'll probably accelerate those their adoption, maybe in the Eastern countries and some of the other areas that have been hesitant to to adopt cloud for either privacy or security reasons. But I think that barrier is going to go away. You're going to have, and it's cloud native security is going to be really, really critical there.
So Mo, as one of our guests who live in a different country, I'm curious to step away from the beer and the cybersecurity aspect of the conversation and just ask about what is life like for you, and how has the government in your country responded to coronavirus, and how do you think that is different or better than what we're seeing here in America or throughout other countries in Europe?
Well, I don't know if I think first off, I'm very fortunate, from where we live, and we're we're close to the beach, so there's you can go there. I think one thing about Europeans, and obviously I'm from the U.S. originally, born in Philadelphia, lived overseas for the majority of my working life, adult life, I should say, in various places. Europeans are very respectful, right, in general, right, where the social distancing, it's done, right? It's done. People do it themselves, right? And the Netherlands in particular, the Dutch culture is really self-reliance, right? So they take a lot of personal responsibility, if I might say. So there's an expectation, of personal responsibility, and also the medical system is quite strong, right? In terms of the services. So I don't know the numbers, the stats, and I don't know how to compare government reactions or anything like that. I'll just say that personal responsibility is important to the Dutch, and that to the people here, and as a resident here, I kind of adopted that culture. We respect the laws. We follow it. So I think it's been a good response. And I will say this: I saw, I don't know if you know about Netherlands, but there was a project. I think it just about ended. It was called Room for the River, right? And it's essentially the history of Holland, of course, with the dikes and the overflows and the flooding of the dikes, and the country's underwater, so it's a high flood risk all the time, right? So managing and living with water is a Dutch, it's expertise is the wrong word. It's something more than expertise. It's in their DNA, right? And they export that to New Orleans and other places, right, to go and help build those right architectures. But the Room for the River project was about resilience. It wasn't about stopping building higher barriers and so forth. It was about living with the water, right, and creating aesthetically pleasing solutions to managing the flow of water in a flood period, for example, and new ways of living, houses, on stilts. I mean, so it was a resilience project, essentially, or the fundamental of the project was about building resilience and not about building barriers. So I think they've taken that same approach here, which is, a balanced set of controls. People are empowered to be self-reliant or self-responsible or responsible for themselves. In terms of obeying the laws and the social distancing, but things have been open. The grocery stores have been open. Some shops have been open. Many things have been closed, of course. But I think that people really have that resilient culture. That's just boom. We do what we need to do. We get through this, and we move forward. But there's a sense of everyone is working together on that project, right? And I don't know their full strategy, honestly, but I think. I trust, what they're going to, the decisions that they make, I think are based in fact and science, and
sure,
and the people will enact those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you eaten out?
It could be worse in some areas. I think from my perspective, it's not. It may not be all roses, and I'm sure it's not.
Sure,
it isn't. Many people have lost their life, and we can't forget that. But I think overall the resilience is a Dutch trait.
It's interesting.
I'd say
here in the American media, we hear, we go to Holland or and you can eat inside of a bubble inside of a restaurant. I don't know if that is just American media hype or if that's an actuality, or have you tried that? Is that real?
I don't know. It sounds like it would be hot. I don't know. No, I'll tell you that the one thing I've learned about the Dutch is that they are very creative and adaptable, right? So again, resilience characteristics, right? Creativity and adaptability are there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Amsterdam is a pretty fun place. You know, a lot of things, but it's not just there. I mean, Rotterdam or The Hague or other places in Holland also have, you know, unique cultures and unique things. So I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised.
And then I have my last, question regarding your livings. Why when it's just Hague? Why is the there? Having lived there for a while, yeah.
You'd think I know that, right? So the name is Den Haag, right? So that's the full name of the town, right? And actually, it's there's another name for it, which is difficult for me to pronounce. So I won't embarrass myself right now. But there's some more ways there. But Den Haag is the name, and honestly, I mean, you know, when I moved here, it was I was doing government strategy, sort of evangelism, you know, for cyber in government, and I'm like, wow, The Hague, that's the seat of government, that's the place, that's the place to be, and it is cool like that, but that name has just grown on me. I just love it, The Hague. It is so cool. I love saying that, right?
Is there another Hague?
There probably is somewhere, right? Probably in the U.S. There's probably a town in Pennsylvania called The Hague.
Let's take a step back then, too, from a technical perspective. I hear a lot of people talking about all of these old school signature methodologies, right, of doing security, intelligence, and protection and stuff, really are going away, and that everything is moving towards a real-time anomaly-based detection. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's always the thing in security, right? Like whatever you had before was not good enough. You need to do this now, right? And that's one of those, at least from my perspective, one of those things that I try to avoid in saying, look, forget that, you know, because I think everything comes, you know, there's a balance there, right? I certainly believe that you have to be more adaptable, right? But I like that combination of signatures, analytics, and intelligence to come together, right? And so I think, you know, signatures aren't dead. They're fast. It's all about the decision, right? So fast path. You know, if I can block something with a signature, why not, right? If I can do that, that's fine. Just don't rely just on that part, right? You know, think about your defense in depth capability, right? And where else do you have both that good combination of signatures, analytics, and intelligence working together? Your web gateway is a critical control point. Web gateway cloud, you know, services, secure web gateways are critical, but they have to combine, you know, signatures with behavior, with intelligence, with interoperability. You know, so those things have to come together. And I think today's conversation that comes up is, you know, zero trust, which is, you know, being applied. You know, that kind of concept also being applied to, say, you know, browser isolation is part of that. But there's been some companies like Deep Secure, a small partner company of ours, but they do sort of zero trust for data and content. You know, all those kind of and then in the cloud space, of course, you know, zero trust, and with the SASE conversation, you know, zero trust is in there. So that's becoming top of mind. But what I fear is that you're going to see that signatures weren't good enough, analytics, no, that's not good enough. Everything's got to be zero trust. Maybe that is the case, but I think it's going to be that balance, which is critical. But definitely, you know, from a marketing side, if you say AI, well, you know, used to be you get in front of the customer, but when you break it down, you know, where are those analytics being applied? What kind of machine learning are you using? And, you know, where are you applying analytics to make a faster decision? And I think, today those analytics need to be applied to other types of decision making, like in the SOC or in, access control or in learning and other things. So I think that's the key thing. All those areas come together, but we got to balance things.
Yeah,
I learned that from Chris, by the way. When I looked at the AMP architecture, you think about that, and I think even in Fluency, right? You've got great censoring combined with great analytics and intelligence on top of that, kind of coming together to make a faster decision at the point of attack or at the point where an analyst needs to make a call.
Yeah, thank you
for the
I
next level
I
of things.
agree
So,
with you, Mo. I mean, listen, nobody has all the answers, and the really key to good security is learning how to leverage what you have, right? I mean, and the reality is like we'll get into the argument sometime now around signatures, because we'll go into first, second degree, third degree version of categorization of knowledge and stuff. But one thing that McAfee used to be really good at was McAfee had a lot of products. Unfortunately, the overall vision wasn't there. Now you have a stronger vision, yet they're going to be filling in the gaps, right? I mean, you don't have the same ecosystem that McAfee used to have. And the question is, and I don't want to put Mo on the spot, right? Because I don't want to be fired. but the question really is that, McAfee sold off a significant amount of technology that was facility oriented. They sold off firewalls. They sold off URL filtering, right? They sold off technology that was more or less around the brick and mortar world. And they began focusing more on the desktop and cloud services, right? Now they still have some weak points, and I'm not going to point them out because, like I said, I don't want Mac, Mo to get in trouble.
Oh, I already know this needs to get a legal review, Chris. So no more about it.
Still some weak points, right? I'll call it out. I think that Nitro ESM is a portfolio. It's having a hard time moving to the cloud. It's database what we call B tree structured. They're really having some significant issues, and the guys in the back end just say, I'll just throw Elastic at it, right? And they're not trying to solve the problem. They're trying to integrate themselves out of a problem, right? So, but the McAfee portfolio has definitely shifted towards a more modern architecture. There's no doubt about it. What used to be, when we say CASB, which we didn't define in this meeting right here for this podcast, right? So it was cloud access security broker.
Brokers, yeah.
Okay, is really more around cloud services. And it replaced the URL filtering techniques that we used to have. It was really designed to kind of look at the exchange of data from the person to shadow IT. That was originally intent. And it's blossomed into this whole new other industry, right? But my big thing to you, Mo, is that you're looking at this now, you're definitely growing a new portfolio. The PE, the private equity invested in McAfee, is growing something brand new. It's growing something that's more around a modern architecture. I would really, I'm interested in the insight. I'm going to do some research after this call. I'm going to look into more of this insight. I'm really interested in McAfee's roadmap, because I don't think the PE is being dumb. I think they're, as you said, targeting the future. You're saying this is where the future is going to be. What should be in our portfolio in this future event, right? And so insights, what do you really love in your portfolio? Sky High, which is your CASB, which you just call CASB now? You don't call it Sky High? Uh-oh. I think I lost Mo.
Yeah, he's frozen for the moment, but there he goes.
There he is.
Go back. Yeah.
We'll try it again. So Mo, the question is it Sky High or is it CASB? And what is what do you think is going to be the product suite that you like the most? What do you like out of McAfee's product suite? Because I really want to talk about McAfee and the product suite, because McAfee's always had very good customer. Let's just be honest about it. Regardless of how you feel about McAfee, they were awesome in engaging the customer. And they always cared a lot about the product they were pushing out to their customers. So what is the customer suite that McAfee focuses on today? What do you feel is your premier suite where you go in and say, I don't care what you have, this is what you need as your base?
I think I certainly from what the architect team does, we'll say, and I'll speak from that angle right now. We try to take that top-down approach, right? Which is, we've got a portfolio, we've got integration partners that are there. We know the problems that you, Mr. Customer, are faced with. Secure and remote working, great example. Improving your SOC maturity, great example. Empowering or accelerating some journey towards cloud, towards cloud service adoption, whether that's sort of that lift and shift stuff, moving your apps out, or adopting SaaS, right, for other reasons, right? Business acceleration is usually the main driver, and agility. So those things we try to say, okay, well, CASB is not, from an architect team perspective or architecture perspective, solutioning, it's control, data protection, network security, anti-malware protection, the whole suite. How do you put that together to say, look, because cloud security is certainly not just CASB. There's a DLP component there. There's an endpoint component to that with the controls, the access control. There's obviously a network component to that. How do you integrate, whether you're inline or API, are you native? There's lots of integration points. So we try to take that, and I think this is where, in terms of the culture of the company, that's one thing I'm working towards is I think that should be everybody's starting conversation. I think if you say, what's the flagship product out there, certainly, it's Envision Cloud, right? But that's a lot of things, right? That's CASB, that's the data protection, management that we do. That's, cloud native application security, right? So that's infrastructure protection as well as AppSec, right? With container security and workload security and so forth. So we've got to, so I think that's certainly a flagship, or Unified Cloud Edge it's more of that combination of DLP, CASB, and Web Gateway under single policy management. If you truly want to say what's the hottest thing, then that's probably it, right? I personally love EDR and the conversation.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, buddy.
We've got to do some things there strong. And sorry. I like that the MITRE testing that came out recently, and I know that's kind of controversial, but MITRE is doing a great job of testing the products, and I think it is operationalizing security, right? Because it's thinking from the red side. It's here's the techniques, where you get visibility, and so forth. But a lot of vendors use that data in different ways, right? And say, okay, just to market themselves a little differently, right? But when it comes down to the operational effectiveness, we were pretty strong in that in the results. How Forrester looked at it. There was a report just from Forrester that I saw a blog post on today. Put us pretty high from their score, from their mechanism. So I try to think about the outcomes, and I encourage the team to think about, SecOps is not just detection; it's detection, triage, investigations, response. It's those things in a cycle. So think about the outcome. How can you affect the outcome? Whether it's with there's always going to be a technology piece to that we lead with, but we try to lead with the outcome. At least that's what you expect from the architect team for sure.
So Mo, you're going to go ahead and get us some customers for Jeremy and I to run your EDR solution against?
I got to figure that out. Yeah, that's I run into Chris once in a while at conferences with RSA or other places, and I like if I don't mind, I'd like to just hear quick what's top of mind for you, Chris, and Fluency.
Man, Jeremy, I think first of all, Jeremy and I are tied to the hip more than I realize at times. I mean, here's what's happening in the universe. Is we used to get a lot of traction in these conferences, and believe it or not, the smaller conferences and the bigger conferences, it's too much about how much glitz you can put onto a market floor. And And part of these podcasts is to try to change the dynamics right now because we don't have the ability to talk to people anymore. But I do feel that here's what's happening though is that we invested so much in an infrastructure of brick and mortar and primary and small business, locations that we're ill-equipped to handle split tunneling and SD-WAN, mobile devices, cloud security, to tell you the truth, is still not very good. And our focus is how do we get information across a distributed environment? So I talk a lot about what we call the double Ds, and I'm not talking boobies. It's distribution and diversity of product. And what we're finding is a lot of our customers, they got stay-home workers now. And we just had a call with a health company this morning. Al was on it, and we were showing them their data. And the guy goes, "I got somebody in Atlanta. Nobody's supposed to be in Atlanta." And so we clicked through, and poor Mike, we create trouble for poor Mike because Mike's in Atlanta and he didn't put any travel plans, but hopefully it's Mike reading documents and stuff like that. And I think you're asking me what's big in my life right now. It changed. It changed 2 months ago. That before I was all about vision of your network and vision of what you have. And now there's no doubt about it. It's vision. If I took away your firewall and I took away your flow data, how do you control your network? That's the reason why I was interested in your insight. That's the reason why I really am interested in what you're saying, Mo, because I don't believe in CASB anymore. I believe in endpoints. I believe in cloud product security and audit management, right? I believe in the double Ds, the distributed networks and diverse products. I think that I believe we said it early on. I like what everybody else in the universe has, and I want to listen to them. And if I go in there saying buy my products up and down the spreadsheet, which you can't do anymore with McAfee, so I feel comfortable saying this with you.
You can't do that really with anybody, right? It's tough. I mean, might be if you're one trick pony, maybe you can. That people do it, but it's customers are different these days, right? I would say a lot more informed buyer, right? Although they have a lot of choices, they're still quite an informed. They're a more informed and tougher audience, right? They're more about prove it, right? Versus believing the marketing. That's for sure.
I do think you're skepticism.
My experience.
Yeah, no, you're right on the money, and I think that every single one of our engagements, along with Jeremy, is a POC. It's prove it to me, show me what's going on, and then the worst part is, how do I get out of my current contract? I made a mistake. That's literally the next issue. The next issue is, oh my God, I bought, and I won't say a product name, I bought X for the next 2 years, and I paid $3 million, and they're realizing it's not going to answer the bill. And it's what I think right now, what's happening in our industry is that we like to say you can't be fired by buying Cisco. You can be. You're going to get it breached, and that's, and I'm not picking on Cisco, but my reality is that, you hear, that's the phrase I hear. Can't be fired by buying Cisco. Yeah. Listen, we've ran into great products, PepLink being a product with West Networks. We did a podcast with those guys. Great products out there that are outperforming Cisco.
And it's like anything, right? You got to have those layers all in play, as was talked about earlier, and then we, as a catcher's mitt, right, bring all of that together and bring you that intelligence and that knowledge.
I don't have the money. I don't have the money, Mo. But if you were to go to your PE, you were saying, PE, what's your strategy right now? I'd buy no before. Wouldn't you, Jeremy? Every meeting with Kevin, no before.
Just to have Kevin Mitnick, right? Just to have Kevin Mitnick.
Kevin's a sweet
Actually, dude. The only reason why not that's the only reason, but one of the reasons why I partnered with KnowBe4 was because they were giving out this credit card size lockpick set. Yeah, I got it.
I've got like 6 or 7 from Kevin. Every time I meet Kevin, he gives me one. It's like between him and his handler. Kevin has to have a handler. Kevin's a sweet guy. He's got a great girlfriend. I hope they get married. He was talking about his movie, and he's like, I never hit anybody. And he put in his thing, I can't hit people or shoot people or throw trash cans at people. And they're like, they're arguing whether they can put that in the paper, in the movie, because they want a movie exciting, something he has to do something mean. He's too nice of a guy to do something mean, right? Let me just be honest about it. And so, listen, I think No Before is a solid company. We bring No Before up a lot. We like Checkpoint Sandblaster, right? We think that's a great mobile agent.
Sandblast Mobile
comes out of that sucker.
Yeah.
And so my point is that Mo, where are we going, and why are you, Jeremy and I, talking to you? Is because we love this industry. We're tired of the industry being about what Gartner thinks and what Forrester thinks.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of reach out and go from person to person and say, what are you seeing? What do you, because quite honestly, I'm very happy with all the new innovation, but yet when I go on LinkedIn and I read what's going on LinkedIn, it's not there. I mean, I'm not being negative. I'm trying to be positive. I think there's tons of really innovative people out there. And that's the reason why before I used to laugh at B-Sides and Lightning Speak. I think those are the greatest conferences. I think that having an open podium to hear so many points of view, right? You need a beer. That's all you need, is you need just beers to get through the crap that you've heard 1,000 times, because someone's going on stage and they're going to say something profound. Right? And you're getting ready.
I'll tell you what, I believe in what you said there. Sorry, Jeremy. Did you want say so? Oh, I was a big believer in
we have Jeremy
in
here
that.
for the looks, Mo.
What's that for? I thought I saw Philadelphia Flyers banner there, but I don't think it is, right? But
he has a Flyers banner?
No. Kings championship flags, thank you. And
I got
the next
to wear
Stanley Cup champion right here.
I don't know how they have
Vegas.
hockey in California and Florida, but I don't know. Okay.
Listen, you know, I take Flyers over the Devils any day, but that's a different discussion. So go on, Mo. Now he's frozen.
So I'm still a diehard Philadelphia sports fan. Even I grew up in Philly, and I buy the NFL package every year. I follow the Phillies. My family's a huge baseball family. My dad was a pro player earlier in the days, very early in the 30s, 30s and so forth. And all my nephews and are college ball players and everything. So we big baseball family. So we follow the Phillies, the Eagles. If the Sixers could get out of their own way, I'd follow them. But man, I follow them, but it's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard.
Listen, so you've got. I was going to go the Bundesliga hockey and the Bundesliga soccer out there. We're gonna have to have a different trip, and we're gonna deal with the Bundesliga stuff out there. You got some kick-ass.
That'd be fun.
You know what? And I know you love Philly. Here's my problem with Philly. I love going to stadiums that love their team, but I don't want to beat the shit out of me if I don't root for them. Right? Philly,
just root for them. You can be a silent hater.
Yeah, silent. I mean,
and now we've come to the top of the hour.
Top of the hour. Go out to some.
I'll tell you one thing before you quit, though, because this is a good story. When I was young, I flew to New Orleans with a couple friends actually, to watch the Eagles on Monday Night Football, right? And there was package deals, early in the day. It was still back on the day when you could smoke on airplanes and do things like that. So it was more of a chartered flight, taking Philadelphia fans down to a Monday Night Football game, and they lost, right? And when we get back, we're going back to our hotel, and it was. I felt at risk in the stadium there, right, a little bit, because we were like one section of Eagles fans and it was it. But then when we get back to our hotel, the manager was like, "Oh, come on, it wasn't that bad. We'll open up free drinks for everybody to feel better." So it worked.
Wait,
free drinks are good.
We got free drinks and it stopped.
Yeah.
We start again at free drinks.
So that was the end of the story. What else is there?
Free drinks for everybody. That's the best part of the story.
Yeah.
Listen, I think I love sports. It's the one thing I missed with COVID-19 is the sports. I do have to say something that I've learned in the last month is that you take away my sports, You take away going to the movies and the restaurants, and I become an Uber programmer again. I love what we do. This is a great industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun as hell, you know.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get hockey shirts, Mo, and we'll send you one when we get it.
Really?
Hockey shirt.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be
And
sweet.
we'll get you on Skype next time or something. You're broken up. We're gonna make fun of Zoom pretty soon. Don't worry about it.
We're using Teams internally, and actually I like it. You know, it's pretty good platform so far. But I had a call with a customer the other day, and it was a Skype call, and I found myself looking through the buttons. I'm like, where's everything, man? And it felt like it felt a little old school. Let's say I'm happy for the Teams piece, right? So that's good.
We're gonna try this with Teams and see if it's better. We'll compare the two podcasts or the video cast. I don't know what we call these anymore. Yeah. And
Both.
But listen, dude. I mean, I appreciate you taking time with us, and I know this has been more of a bullshit session than anything else. I'm kind of interested in insight and some other stuff, and we're gonna ask you for some notes, and we're gonna put it against the podcast because I think that there's a lot going on at McAfee right now, and nobody's talking about McAfee. I hate to tell you. I mean, they're talking about every little venture capital thing that's out there. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
that's the challenge today, right? Is how do you make noise in a very noisy environment, right? And that's I'll tell you, we got to work hard, to get the name out there, and I think when you adopt, I was going to say this earlier, was that adoption of cloud services, for example, it forces, because the customer can switch so easily, or relatively easily, at least from a contractual point of view. You have to get in there and speak about the outcomes, right? customer buys, licenses for these applications for security, but you don't go in there and you're not talking to them about their next the next things they're doing, or consulting on that, or giving them, providing domain knowledge and knowledge transfer. You're not there, right? You're not there. So they can. That's where I think we're accelerating, but we have to make noise in that very crowded environment, but we have to be good advisors to our customers at the same time, because there's also hype out there, of course, as usual.
And I think McAfee has the challenge of shaking off some of the stigma that it has with some of its products, and really telling the world that these are the products that we have, and ignore the deficiencies in our endpoint that used to exist. Look at us now, and what can we do for you now? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Constant. That's like one of the number one conversations we want to have is, everybody, and it's kind of an all hands on deck approach, right? You can't just rely on marketing it. Everybody's got to be talking about that. And we have made great quality improvements on the endpoint, just as an example, but we have great cloud security products, cloud native security. We've got a great architecture that we can deliver for app security or workplace security or OT security, IT OT convergence, that's a big topic. And, those are enterprises today are interdependent. So if you're just thinking about, a hot technology to plug a gap here, or if you're not thinking about your enterprise as sort of one thing, you're definitely going to have exposure.
Yeah, we say do the basics first. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you talk about it. You talk football and you talk the Phillies, and the reality is that you got to get the basics first. You don't need a freaking good kicker or punter. You need the basics. You need to control the line. You gotta draft. You gotta draft based upon need, not draft based upon that guy's sexy, right? It's hurt Philadelphia. It's hurt so many teams.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a sports to security sponsorship sometime. All right, so
that'd be great, dude.
Years are done, and so
all good.
Still got a few drinks left.
How can you drink 12 ounces in an hour? I'm like,
you're nursing. Do you need a nipple for that thing, Al? Come on.
All right.
All right. Next time, I expect cool glasses from you guys.
There you go.
You'll go out and go hunting for cool
Absolutely.
glasses.
We're gonna do hockey shirts. We don't have glasses yet. We're gonna have the Trash Panda logo out in a couple days, couple weeks.
Okay.
And we'll
That's for Fluency? For Fluency?
No, this is for Beers and Bytes.
For Beers and Bytes.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
And then you're gonna get a Fluency patch and a Fortify 24/7.
Nice.
And it'll be good. It'll be really good. So
Okay,
I appreciate it, Mo. We're gonna bring you back on when we actually have people watching this. But
We're just
Hey, this
you're
was
just
fun,
the
man.
early
I really-
appetizer.
There you go.
we miss you.
Adopter.
Mo, it was
Okay.
great meeting you, and appreciate that and your insights.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys, for the invite. Chris, Al, Jeremy, thanks again. My pleasure.
All right. So we'll call
Thanks,
that
Mo.
a wrap.